Boogie Street Guitars, Eric McKenna. How'd you get involved with this, and you still doing it?
I'm still doing it. Eric and I, Boogie Street Guitars is a company out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Eric McKenna started it, and I was working at a place in Bethel Park with my time off when I was home called Monster Music. And Eric would come in, and from time to time, he would say, hey, can you just set this stuff up? You know, can you help me out with this? And I would help him out. And then one day he called up and said, hey, I'd like you to come over. Can you help me out with some guitars? So I went over, and we hit it off. He's a great guy. We're the #1 Washburn custom shop dealer in the world. In fact, he's such a good salesman that the president of eBay actually used Boogie Street Guitars as an example in her book that she had written about, you know, successful eBay, you know, how to make a successful eBay store business. Yeah. And she cited Eric. We do everything over the internet, and you know, it started from, you know, a small little thing out of his house to larger and larger and larger offices, and now, you know, we work with some of the biggest names in rock and roll, helping design guitars. You know, we worked with Dimebag when he was alive, or with his Washburn guitars. We've done some Nuno Betancourt stuff. Right now, we're working with Paul Stanley from Kiss, helping him with his import guitars. So it's just, you know, we sit around, we come up with some designs. Eric's got a great mind, you know, and it's fun. I come home, I can go and hang out with Eric. We bounce some ideas off each other, talk politics, and it's a joke for Eric. We talk politics, and we design guitars, you know, and I've always been grateful that here's another guy that brought me in and showed me another side of the business, and, you know, I try to learn as much as I can.
Now I'd like to show a video of Fred in action.
Hi, I'm Fred Kowalo, bass and guitar tech for Megadeth. I'm going to show you guys Dave Ellison's gear. What we've got here is we have a new rack just built for Dave. I did it the other day. And we start out with a Furman. We had an old Furman laying around, but it's road tested and it stands the test of time. So it's a great power conditioner, and I power everything off the Furman. We go into a Whirlwind multi-selector, so I can switch between his basses. There's no pop, there's no click, it's great. And I'm using the Shure UR4D for his wirelesses. I run 4 basses, and I run 2 packs each. And then we go to the new Peterson strobe tuner, the strobe rack tuner, and it keeps him in tune. So if he's up there playing, I run it in a series so I can see what's going on. And then we run the LH1000 Harky bass amplifier. It supplies a lot of power, man. It's got a lot of kick out there on stage. So it really comes through really clean. This is Dave Ellison's bass. It's his signature model. It's a Zodiac DE from PV. It's a 5-string, of course, with EMG pickups in there, a P and a J. And this is his main 5-string that he uses during the Megadeth tour. Again, another Dave Ellison model, the PV Zodiac DE. This is a 4-string model, and it's got bassline pickups in it. With the excitement of the 20th anniversary of Rust in Peace, Dave decided to go back and use some of the basses that he used back in the day. So this is it's a Jackson sent him one. He gets a lot of tone out of it. We have some more coming. They're making us a couple more. But we're using this one for right now. And it's a great, it sounds great. It's a great player. It's a fast neck on it. Back in the day, Dave played on Peace Cells. He played a Mockingbird. So BC Rich was kind enough to send us out one. I've equipped this one with EMG pickups, cloud inlays. It's a fantastic, fantastic sounding bass, man. It's really cool. They like it.
The band Inxs. You did some work with them. How long did you work with Inxs?
I was a fill-in.
And I like Inxs, by the way.
Oh yeah, dude, I love them too.
Favorites. So.
I loved them too. You know, back in high school, and I was happy to see that they were coming back around. You know, and I got a call. Again, always do your best work because you never know who's watching you. I was in Australia, and it was these horrible rainstorms and flooding, and this sound guy was sitting there, and he was watching me work, and he goes, are you going to set up? I'm like, no. I said, I have my stuff done. I'm not going to chance it getting wet. I said, he goes, well, the pressure's on you. I said, nah, pressure. I'm not worried about it. And I hurry up, and when the time came, I set up my gear, didn't panic, put everything for Megadeth that I had to put up, and had a flawless show. Went off without a hitch. And the guy was sitting there watching me. He goes, hey, mate, you handled the pressure well. And I said, well, it comes with, being prepared for the job. And he goes, I might call you sometime. Well, I didn't know that he worked for Inxs. He was just being a local guy in Australia. He was our monitor guy. And I get an email from him a couple months later and says, hey, it's Ken from Inxs. Would you like to fill in for a month? And I said, yeah, I'll come in and fill in for a couple weeks. And we went to South America, and I did a couple weeks with them in South America. Then we went up to Canada, and it was a great, learning experience.
Can you share with us a funny incident that's happened on a tour?
One of my, this is my nightmare gig, not being prepared. And I went to South America with Inxs, and I'd asked these guys, they're the greatest guys in the world. And I'd asked them, I said, hey, could somebody show me Kirk's gear because I've never worked with it before? And they said, oh, mate, you're so uppity about your work. He goes, don't worry about it. We'll do it tomorrow. We'll show you the gear tomorrow. You're in Buenos Aires, mate. Go see Buenos Aires. We'll do it tomorrow. That's been the story of my my career. We'll do it tomorrow. So I went out and I saw Buenos Aires. We had 2 days off in Buenos Aires. I went and saw Buenos Aires, and it was great, And I went into work the next day and said, hey, can somebody take me down and show me the gear? I just want to get familiarized with it. And the guy says, oh, mate, it's press day today. You've got the day off. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll show you the gear. I'm like, well, tomorrow's a show day. No, mate, don't worry. It's a piece of cake. Go enjoy Buenos Aires. How many times you in Buenos Aires? Go check it out. So I went and I checked out Buenos Aires again. It was beautiful. The next day was a show day, and I got there, and I'm looking at the gear for the first time, and I'm totally clueless. I'm looking at it. I have saxophones. I'm a guitar tech. I've got saxophones. And, I get his gear up and running, and I've got his saxophones there. And if you put the mouthpiece on the saxophone, it changes. It has to be perfect. Because if you put it on too far, it's going to be sharp or flat.
Yeah, it's the way it tunes.
Yeah, it's how it tunes.
Yeah.
So I have Kirk come by, and he goes, oh, mate, you did a great job. I get the saxes. Don't worry about it. It's live on TV. So here it is, my first show with Inxs, live on television. All right? So it's a smooth show. Everything's fine, except for I've got a cameraman. There's nobody supposed to be in my world at all. And I've got
explain to people what your world is.
Oh,
just so you know what
my world is, I would have his amps, my guitar rack where I did my work, my tuning and stuff, and the guitars are in front of me to block me. I like to do it. I block my view from the audience so they can't see me. So I have the guitars in front of me, and for Kirk, I put his saxophones right here, just so if I messed up, he could just grab the one that he needed. Again, I'm unfamiliar. So they're right here on the end of the drawer. And so he would come back into my world, and I'd give him a guitar, or I'd give him a saxophone, he'd go back off. But there was nobody supposed to be in my world. So I'm sitting there, and the show starts, and there's a cameraman running with a camera and a cable through my world. Now I'm trying to tell him, hey, you can't be here, because you're going to knock something over. And of course, I don't speak Spanish. And he's telling me, he's waving his hands at me, go away, blah, blah. Everything's fine. And he's flipping his cable, and it's because it's getting tangled up. So this whole show goes, we're about ready for the encore, and everything's great. The guy runs through my world, flips his cable, and it goes doink, and it hits a saxophone. And the saxophone jumps up in the air, and I've got a guitar cable on and a guitar tuning it. I look, and I see the saxophone falling, and I reach out, and I grab it, and again, mind you, I have a guitar on, and I grab the saxophone by the bell, and then it goes, donk, and it's all it did. Didn't hit too hard, and I'm like, oh no. I said, I got to get this fixed. And just at that time, the song ends, and Kirk comes over and goes, okay, mate, I'm ready for my saxophone. And I'm like,
That was the alto. So
I'm like, oh no. I said, Kirk, I said, it just hit the floor. He goes, oh, don't worry. He goes, doot, doot, doot. And, oh, mate, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And of course, it's the most important, song. It's Never Tear Us Apart with the big dramatic sax solo.
it's the encore. Too,
It's the encore too. And we had built a stairway behind the drum riser, and at the big dramatic solo of the song, all the lights go black, a spotlight comes up on Kirk, and he's standing there playing his saxophone. And I'm going, and I know what's going to happen. I know the song. And I'm like, oh, please work. I'm crossing my fingers, please, please, please work. And he goes, they will never tear us apart. And the lights go black, the spotlight comes on, and you hear, and it's squeal. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a cat in a washing machine or something, It's just making all this noise, and my heart sunk. And it's live on television, Buenos Aires TV, and it's my first gig. I'm thinking I'm getting fired. And Kirk Pengel. He's the nicest guy in the world. He comes walking back over, hands me the sax, leans in and goes, I think this one's broken, mate. And he walks up, and he just goes up and does back of it. I'm thinking this guy's going to fire me, and he's like, oh, don't sweat it, mate. He goes, I've got a spare one. We'll do that. Well, I finished the tour. I think they're going to fire me. Everything went great. They're the nicest guys in the world. And I go back and do a couple days with them in Canada. And in the meantime, Kirk had gotten the saxophone fixed. And he goes, mate, I'd like to talk to you about that saxophone. I'm thinking he's going to want me to pay for it, which I'll do it. I mean, it got broke on my watch. And he comes up and goes, mate, I just want to thank you for having that saxophone break. He goes, I had it fixed. It plays better than it's ever played before. And I'm like sitting there going, you can't write this. Right. It was just, and he was the nicest guy in the world. So, I can't thank those guys enough for a pleasant experience.
How do you know when you've reached rock stardom at a certain Los Angeles nightclub?
One of my favorite things was when I was doing Rockstar, or even growing up. You hear about Los Angeles. You hear about Los Angeles, and one of my favorite places was the Rainbow. And if you use the bathroom in the kitchen, that's how you know you're a rock star. And so I always used the regular bathroom, and they told me one day, they said, why do you go to the regular bathroom? Use the one in the kitchen. So that's what I did, and I went in, and I thought, wow, I must have made it. And I came out, and I opened the door, and there's Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top standing there waiting to use the bathroom. So that's how I look at things. I'm like, I must have made it,
So what is coming up next for Fred Kowalo's World?
Fred Kowalo's World, we've got a Megadeth tour coming up. I'll be with those guys for the next 18 months or so. I'll probably finish my career with Megadeth. I love Dave Mustaine. I love Chris Broderick and David Ellefson and Sean Drover. They're all great guys. They're a dream to work for. We've got nominated for another Grammy Award. Things are really rolling for the band, and they keep me employed, and I'm happy. Everything's good.
Well, with that, we're going to wrap it up, and I want to thank Mr. Fred Kowalo for being on the show.
Not a problem,
He was
Vic.
a wonderful man, and thank you so much, buddy.
You got it, buddy. Happy to be here.
Alrighty. Thank you for watching Arts and Music. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email us at artsandmusicpgh@yahoo.com. And until next time, peace.